Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us here today. I'm Daniela Saioni. For those who are not in my program, if you're watching this on the YouTube channel, I'm so honored to be interviewing Ronit Ravich-BOSS, who is a prolific script supervisor. I did it like a pickup day on Murder Mystery 2, and I had to get the notes from the main unit script supervisor. And when I saw who it was, and when I saw her credits, I said, "Oh my God, I really want to interview her for this script supervision program." So as she graciously said yes, and so we're very lucky. If you are not familiar with Ronit's credits, she has had almost a 4-decade career, international career in probably more countries than I've shot in. I've only shot in 10. And credits like Ghost World, Girl Interrupted, both 2 of the Austin Powers movies, Murder Mystery 2. Oh my God, it's an endless list, including some of my favorite comedies like Superbad. I know I'm weird because to me that's like my favorite credit of yours.
Oh, I love Superbad. That is such a good movie. Such a good movie.
Oh,
it was my first digital movie.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah.
I always ask people this because I don't know anybody who was like a little girl going or a little boy going, I want to be a script supervisor when I grow up. So we always seem to come to it in very circuitous ways. So we're so curious to know how you came to script supervision.
Okay. First of all, before I started working in the movies, I didn't even know. I went to movies, but I had no idea how they were made. I had no idea they were edited. As a kid, I used to go to the local cinema and see Indian movies, Bollywood.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, I did my army service, and then I'm from Israel. And then I decided, I've always loved languages and words, and I have a gift for that. So I decided I wanted to be a simultaneous translator because I've always wanted to travel, and I could see myself in Geneva, in all kinds, in a Congress, translating from this to that. So I had to do a bachelor degrees in linguistics, which was fascinating in the University of Tel Aviv. But since I needed to work for a living as a student, I found a job in the Israeli Film Institute. I was their secretary. And from there, all hell broke loose because I met every Israeli director on the map. And, they took a big liking to me. Come work with me on my next movie, Kai, So I worked there probably for a year and a half. And I really familiarized myself with the movie world. And the first job I got, I was an assistant production coordinator. And then I became on another movie a production coordinator. And then on that movie, they said, why, when we finish shooting, why don't you come work in the editing room? And I said, okay, sure, why not? And I went to the editing room. I was second, those pre-digital days. So I was second assistant, bringing the trims, touching the film, it's a whole, bring me 20 frames of this shot and bring me 40 frames, And you actually sit next to the editor and you see the whole process. You see the whole, it's like this patchwork of how you put a film together. And I call it my film school because I believe, I was second assistant, then first assistant, but I call it my film school because this is really where you learn what is the job of a script supervisor, because we really, at the end of the day, work for editing. And, the way I always think is editing. This is my number one thought. So after 3 years in editing, I got sick and tired of sitting in dark black rooms. And I said, maybe I'll become a script supervisor.
That's amazing. I had the same, that's exactly my trajectory, in the sense that I was like, get me out of here and get me on set. And I didn't know what a script supervisor was. So at least you did.
Well, I did because I was in editing, but and I saw the reports, and I had girlfriends who were script supervisors, and I went and talked to them, and how do you do and what do you do? which is, of course, I think you learn to be a script supervisor from experience. I mean, yes, you can read, you can learn, but every movie is a new experience. So
Yes. Yes. And you were saying that it was film school. Do you still take with you, what were the biggest things you took with you from your experience in post when you started on set?
it's sitting by the editor, seeing him cry because he doesn't have a close-up or an insert or whatever shot. Seeing when he cannot cut one shot to the other because of continuity. You just see the whole thing, and it's just one thing after the other. And so the way your mind works, my mind works, is what does the editor need in this scene? Are we missing this angle? Are we missing that angle? Should we go close? If I'm working with kids, I always tell the director, we have to shoot close-ups, so you'll be able to use every piece of material you have, because kids never do the same thing, and you cannot, ask them to do the same thing.
That's funny. That's how I advise to work with method actors sometimes, just to make sure we get close-ups, because they're not going to do the same things all the time.
No, and especially working in comedies where there is so much, they never do the same take twice, and they ad-lib, and so you just gotta give the editor the option to use as much as he can, and the same for the director, of course.
I really, there's a bunch of people who are just about to have their first on-set experience, or are having a few on-set experience that are kind of hellish because, just the state of low budget indie right now. And let's tell us about your first on-set experience.
It was pathetic. Pathetic. Because, first of all, I'm an, alpha type, and, I'm a perfectionist. So I try to do everything. And one of the most important things about being a script supervisor is to know priority. Mm-hmm. Prioritize all the time. What is important? What is less important? I was trying to watch the clouds in the sky, and I would tell the DP, oh, it's not the same like the last take. And they look at me like, are you effing crazy? And sorry for my French, I do cuss every once in a while. And the first few days were so stressful that I think on the third day we were up in a northern city in Israel on the beach, a very ancient city. And I sat on the steps, and I cried, and I said, that's it, I want to go home. I don't want to do this job. This is horrible. This is horrible. I cannot do this. And the producers, there were two producers, they became very good friends of mine. They came, they sat next to me, they said, don't give up. It's going to be okay. You're doing great. Be forgiving to yourself. And, I don't know how I did this movie. It was so hard. And in my mind, it's not just working on low budget. I think every movie is hard in its own right. It doesn't matter if it's low budget, big budget, whatever it is, it's always hard, because you cannot write enough laws for making movies. Each one is its own experience. So I'm glad I stuck with it. But it took me probably 5 to 7 years to start feeling comfortable.
Oh, me too. I had that same experience, about 7 years for me.
Yeah.
Interesting. Do you remember the moment that you knew, okay, this is the job for me?
No, it was like, I think, what, when I did Rambo III, which was the hardest movie I've ever done in my life, it was a nightmare. 5 months of hell. I mean, they fired directors, they fired DPs, they fired the first ADs, they fired left and right. I mean, from a 300 people crew, I was one of the 5 original people that were left. And also you have to understand, I was this Israeli, probably 24, 25. And I went on to, originally they wanted to hire me to do second unit. But I met with the director at the time, Russell Mulcahy, a lovely man. And he says, hey, love, do you want to do first unit? I'm like, sure, why not? I had no idea what I was getting into. Also, big American movies, total different attitude. In Israel, it's like a family, but then comes so I'm talking about 100 horses in the shot, choppers, tanks, hundreds of extras, and Sylvester Stallone is a whole movie by itself. And, we shot in Israel, we shot in Thailand, and then they went to Yuma and they brought me as a consultant, and I did the second unit with Sly, with Stallone. It was very difficult and very, people were not nice because everybody was so stressed. I don't know how I survived it. I seriously do not know. Maybe my Israeli chutzpah, But after I finished this movie, and I worked with some of the best people in the world, like I said, this was the most expensive movie. It was $80 million in 1985.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Yeah. So today it's like probably 400 million. I don't know. It was a lot of money. And after I finished this movie, I went, I can do that. It's not bad. I can do that. The problem is that I came to the state, to Yuma, and I met my ex-husband in the Philippines. He's a stuntman. He was a stuntman at the time. But I had no papers. I couldn't work in the United States. So two of my friends, wardrobe girls who were working in Corman, where it was a little looser there, they said, why don't you come work in Corman? So from an $80 million, I went to doing 700,000 dollar movies, and I did like 6 of them in a row.
But how legendary, how many incredible people I've met that started at Corman Studios, like directors, DOPs, like former script supervisors, assistant directors, and camera people that made their careers through Corman Studios. It feels like that era and that place and that it just has never been replicated. So I'm dying to hear a little bit more about what your time with Corman Studios was like.
Well, they make those B movies that are, excuse me, ridiculous. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I guess they were selling, back then they were selling them on tape to the Far East, or I don't know what they were doing with them, or showing them on some, obsolete cable channels. And they kept saying to me, what are you doing here? You're so overqualified for this. But, I enjoyed it. First of all, it was really close to my house. It was in Venice.
Oh, nice.
I live in Los Angeles, so I lived in Venice at the time. So, and I wanted to work. I always wanted to work. And when my daughter was born, I stayed home for 3 years and I didn't work. But after 3 years, I got the itch. So that was, I think, Roger Corman was before she was born, I think. I don't remember. So seeing how, like I said, after this huge movie, working on such a small scale, but I got to meet great people. Like you say, a lot of people started there. One of the movies I did was with Talia Shire.
Wow.
Yeah. And she directed it. And yeah, you had, shooting on film on 16 millimeter. You had to be fast, you print 1, print 2, and move on. There is no time, whatever. So
this TV director, Rodman Flenders, he was telling me he was an AD with Corman, and then he got to direct. But once he got to direct, Corman said to him, "You're only allowed to print 2 takes."
Yeah, it's true. It's true because it was very, very, very low budget.
Wow.
But it's also a good way, again, it's a good school for people who are beginning, because it's not like the stress is less than if you're working on Rambo 3, when all the big stars and all big, every moment on Rambo was like $1 million.
Yes.
All the equipment, all the people. So it's a good place to start.
Tell us about the transition from Corman to the sort of very big movies that you got to work on after that.
Well, I met a guy there. Sorry, I'm a little older, so a lot of names I can't remember.
I do that too.
Okay, a lovely guy. He was an AD, and he said, "Listen, you're really good. You have nothing. You're in the wrong place. Let me get you into the union." And he got me, he took me with him. I don't know what it was, a pilot or whatever. I started doing some pilots, and then I did some low budget movies. And actually, one of these low budget movies was with the director of Austin Powers, Jay Roach. And he's the one who brought me on.
Oh my God.
And I said no to nothing, whatever the salary, you never say no. You go, because everything is a learning curve. I think Austin Powers was my first big movie. And I think that's when I started to really enjoy it, because this was, especially the first one, it was such a great experience. Endless laughter, dancing on set, doing something that's so different and unique. Yeah, and then you meet people, and they call you.
And you really, really are distinguished as a comedy script supervisor. I mean, I don't know, did you choose that on purpose?
No, not at all. I actually got to do Superbad because the producer on Austin Powers was the producer on Superbad. This lady, Shauna, she's married to Edward Norton.
Okay, great.
Yeah. And she said, hey, come do Superbad. It's going to be digital and and it's going to be fun. And there are these two kids, Seth Rogen and, Evan, and, all the actors there like Jonah Hill and Emma Stone, they were all beginners.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And, so you work with one person and you kind of follow them. And Scream 2, I don't remember how I got to Scream 2, but it's always, you work with people and they say, hey, I'm doing this movie, come do it. I just remember from Superbad that the first week they said, we sat in the DIT tent. It was a very DIT tent. Yeah. Do you call it DIT?
We do, yeah.
Okay, and it was all dark. I said, why do we have to sit in here? No, you have to sit in here and you can't have any light. And I was just freaking out.
Yeah, because we have to write the dialogue.
Yeah, it's crazy. Okay, write the dialogue. That's impossible, because with Seth and it's like, okay, you see the script is just a suggestion. And don't worry too much. And then Judd Apatow was saying to me, because he was a producer on Superbad, it's like, you have to write it out. Like I said, bring a stenographer. I'm not going to write whatever they're saying. It's impossible. So one thing I learned to do, and I also learned it with Adam Sandler, that I've done so many movies with, is to write like, keywords from dialogue. So, usually the actors remember something. Yeah. I'm not going to write every time they say something different. It's ridiculous. And do my job.
I try, but when it's impossible, I either ask for the script coordinator to come to set with me. I've had that happen before. I said, I can't keep up. And they wanted me to write ad libs from 9 actors on one of the TV shows. Or I do the keywords thing, like just know, because I used to do stand-up comedy. So it's always that punchline. It's always that.
Yeah, the punchline or the subject or the joke or,
Yeah.
And I know one time I was working with Rob Schneider and he went on a 10-minute rant. And then he comes to me and he says, what did I say? So what did I say? And I looked at him and I said, are you effing kidding me? You said it, you remember it. I have no clue what you said. So he started laughing. I said, what do you think I am? Do I look like a tape recorder to you?
Oh my God, I think so many people are relieved to hear this because so many people say, how do you do it, Daniela? How do you? And I do my best, but we're not robots.
You can always do your best. That's it.
All you can do.
That's all you can do.
What are some of the other, I love, for me, comedy is harder. I know comedy is much harder, but it's still my favorite. Are there any other differences that you can think of? Because there's some directors who have said to me, oh, but shooting comedy is the same as drama. I said, no, it's not.
No, I think comedy is much harder. But some movies were brilliant. I mean, like Superbad, I was dying. And then the language, I read the script and I said to them, what is this language? I'm not letting my daughter watch this. This is horrible. I don't know.
Well, we always, like you said, we have to get extra coverage. There's all different.
I just learned through working on a lot of comedies how to not to be stressed and to tell the director, listen, I don't want to ruin the flow here. These are funny people. You can't bug them with continuity. You know, there is so much you can do nowadays. You can cut so many things together. It's not like in the old days. Also, you have, you know, you work with free cameras. You know, it was very expensive back then. We didn't work with free cameras, and we rehearsed everything 15 times before we shot it. Today, you know, they don't even do a rehearsal. Let's go.
Yes.
And sometimes, you know, so you have to find ways to bypass the inconsistencies of continuity. And I always say, you know, movies don't rise and fall on continuity. It's important, but it's not the most important thing.
I agree. I agree. In my class, in fact, it's like number 5, because an editor told me this. It's number 5 on my list of considerations. Number 1 is performance. Number 2 is story. If it's a comedy, is it funny? If it's genre, is it scary? You know, then
yeah, exactly. Oh,
yes.
absolutely. But you do, like, because I said earlier, priorities, you do have to know when it is important.
Yes.
Or, you know, so that takes experience.
Yes, absolutely. Editing experience and experience of just understanding how to watch the scene. No, it's so true. It's so nice to hear you say that as well. I want to talk a little bit because I saw that you had a directing credit on television, and a lot of my students do direct as well. I wondered how how you got that job, and then how the experience was for you.
Okay, so I did this little TV series called Strong Medicine back in the day. That's when it was after my daughter was born, and I wanted, you know, it wasn't too long of hours. It was close to home. It was a very nice group of people, and I don't know. After 3 years, I said, maybe I want to direct. I said it out loud.
Good.
And you know, a couple of months later, the producer called me and he says, "Okay, you're gonna direct this episode," and I was like, "Oh, really?" And as they said, yeah, be careful what you ask for. And yeah, and you know, I knew what I was doing. I was so well prepared. I mean, you're not supposed to say it about yourself, but I know I did a really, really good job.
I bet you did.
And you know, it was nominated for my episode had to do with drug use, and so it was nominated for some kind of prize, and I lost it to ER. So I thought that was very respectable. And my daughter and I got to go in a limousine to the event. But, you know, it was 7 days of shooting, and I probably lost 8 pounds on that week. The stress is insane. You think that script supervising is stressful, directing is 10 times more. And yes, the rewards are great. But excuse me, I didn't like the idea of producers whispering in your ear, telling you what to do, how to do, you're running out of time, this and that and the other. I didn't do well with this part. So I figured I'm going to go back to script supervisor, where I'm very comfortable, and I don't want all that responsibility on my shoulders. But, you know, a lot of directors, a director I work with, David Gordon Green,
Wow.
And we really collaborate. I can actually come up with any idea. He can say yes, he can say no, but a lot of stuff he really loves to hear from me. So that's where I get my little directing candy, you know?
Yeah.
But to meetings and stressing, nah, life is too short.
I am so on the same page with you on that. When directors give us the respect and that space, that's very creatively satisfying. And who needs the stress is also what I say.
Yeah.
So okay, so because we have such a high burnout rate in our profession, and you've been able to last so long, what do you think is the secret to career longevity?
Charm them out of their socks. Seriously, I think the most important thing about being a script supervisor is personality, is being aware. You know, I feel like a lot of time I'm like a therapist on set. I'm very, you know, alert to what's happening around me. I kind of know when to talk and when to shut up. I don't take anything. I mean, I wasn't like this earlier on, but nowadays I just smile. If I say to the director something and he goes, no, I don't care, I say, fine, bye. You know, I don't argue. I don't, if I tell the director, you know, I don't do interviews anymore, but I used to say to a director in interviews, you know, I give you the option, you make the decision. I'm not going to fight with you, but if I think it's super important, I might say it twice. So, you know, and I'll write the editor and I'll say, listen, I tried and I failed. What can I tell you? Deal with it. It's in your hands now.
I know what they do to the cut in comedy. I've had like the worst continuity in my career I've done on a show called People of Earth, and the editors wrote to thank me. And I said, "Why are you thanking me? This is ridiculous, the amount of continuity." They said, "No, it's working because you make so many notes about where the director laughed and what, you know." It's like, okay, so it's
Yeah,
not.
that's very important. That's what I do too. And by the way, I don't use a computer on set.
Oh yeah, yeah. I know. I use pen and paper. I use pen, but I later when they're lighting, I type. But I noticed you when I had your notes from Murder Mystery, they were handwritten. I was impressed.
Yeah, I only handwrite. I don't want to have a computer on set. I think it takes a lot of my attention
Mhm.
from what happens on set. I don't want to deal with this machine if it starts going nuts or it runs out of battery and cable. I want to be free. I want
Yeah.
to sit with my book and look on at the, you know, the video screen or on the set. I don't want it. I think it comes between us. And pretty much every editor I've worked with says to me, I prefer your handwritten notes to the computer.
It's same with me. When they find out that I don't use any programs, I do use my own. Like it's not, but I don't. I have to do the notes by hand on set because then I lose the continuity if I don't. But
Yeah.
then I just type them because my handwriting is not as nice as yours. I could read yours, but I can't read mine. But I handline the script and they say, "Thank you so much." I don't know why but it feels maybe organic to them too. I don't know why.
I think when you use a computer, you use so many technical words. You know, I don't like. I'll say, okay, it's a close-up, but I'll tell the story of the shot. It's not so much they can see what the camera is doing.
Yeah.
Like I write it more in, so they get the. I don't know what it is. I use less and less technical, and when I see computer notes, it's like I'm reading SAH times 74. I'm like, what does the editor care about this?
I agree. If they have to translate our notes, that's their time we're wasting. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
No, I totally agree with that. Listen, and I'm not slamming the computer program. Like everyone
No,
works
I'm not. It's beautiful, but
yeah.
you know, and I'm the worst typist in the world also. So, and also don't forget I'm bilingual, so it also makes it, you know, I've got Siri, how do you spell this word? Siri, how do
Oh,
you spell that?
it's so funny. It's so much of, and I think it's also because we come from another time. We come from film, and we come from when everything was by hand. There weren't even
Yeah.
monitors when I started. For many of the
Mhm.
we just come from another time. So sometimes people are like, "Oh, you're so old," but I'm like, okay, but it just feels more organic this way, and especially with the speed of comedy for me, it's like this.
Oh yeah, it's crazy. I mean, in Rambo, we had 10 cameras every day,
Oh
and
my
I was alone. I didn't have an assistant.
Oh my God. Yes, sometimes even for that many cameras, we don't get assistance. By the way, do you think I love this movement? I'm trying to be one of the sounding boards for it where we have assistance. I would love that for it to be normalized.
Um, I love to have an assistant, but I don't know. I would maybe let her type my notes or him and make me coffee, but I don't think two minds can do this job, you know,
Oh
because
yeah.
yeah, I think it can. I don't know. I know a lot of script supervisors have it, but I worked with an assistant in Philadelphia, but he was, because we were shooting so many different splinter units on the set, so he was doing that, so I wouldn't have to bother with it.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's a good way.
Yeah.
I mean, the moment I turned 40, I'm a 55 now. When I turned 40, I was like, my body is changing. Like I need an assistant just
Yeah.
so I can leave set sometimes and or get a coffee, or get a coffee. Yeah, I know it's I that's one of the things I hope will improve. But now you've seen a lot over the decades. What do you think? I'm going to ask you what's the best change in film that you've seen and what's the worst?
The best change for me was Video Village.
Yeah, yeah.
And And also, I think today that, so I didn't have to ask the operator, what's the right side of the frame? What's the left side? And then I'd have to watch the camera move and the actors. It was just so stressful. You know, having a video playback and watching it, it makes it so much easier for me, you know, and then if I forgot something, I can always play it back. The problem today is that in some movies, they don't want to even have a video playback. They're saving money. So, like, for instance, on this last movie I did in Ohio, I said, I always ask, do you have a video playback? They go, no, we're not going to. Okay, I said, if you want me, I want a screen and I want a chair. And I want to be able to see what, I'm not going to work with 3 cameras, handheld, and try to figure out what they're doing. So you might as well not even have a script supervisor. Because this movie, you know, it was done with 4 kids that were never actors before. I said, are you kidding me? And of course I had, and I said, it shouldn't be a small screen. I'm an older lady. I want a bigger screen. So I got what I wanted. I didn't have playback, but, you know, I could shoot it. If I felt it was important, I could shoot it off the screen and I didn't have to chase the Steadicam. It's stupidity, you know? And of course, half of the crew was over my shoulders to watch. You know, makeup, hair, wardrobe, this, that, the other. So props.
I totally agree with you. Oh my God. So Video Village was the best. I agree with that too. I mean, there've been some other good things. I think what you said earlier about not having rehearsals is terrible.
Oh yeah, we haven't gotten to the terrible. You know, you want to talk about terrible? Okay. What I loved about working, I hate to say in the older days, but it is 30 years ago, was huge respect for the frame. Because film was so expensive, you checked and double-checked, you rehearsed, you know, you made sure that everything was in place, that there was respect for the process. And then you didn't know the outcome until you went to dailies in the evening to watch dailies, you know, so that was also a mystery and you couldn't see through the lens. So you really had to get to know what the camera is doing, what the lenses are. And nowadays it's okay, let's do the rehearsal, let's do a 30-minute take, you know, poor boom guy standing there for 35 minutes about to fall off his feet. Makeup and wardrobe are running in the middle of the take to fix this and that and the other. I don't like that because I think it just makes the word more schleppy, you know. I don't know. It's like no respect. Oh, the hair wasn't good. We'll fix it in post. We'll fix that in post. We'll fix this in post. Okay, so just sit and animate the whole thing and leave me alone, you know. It's I mean, it's not, you know, the last movie, again, it was done with a film camera. We mostly had one camera and it was so nice. And every 10 minutes they have to reload, check the gate. You haven't heard that in a long time.
Yeah.
But I think it's just like schlumpier now. It's like, we'll fix this, we'll fix that, we'll, you know, oh, the lighting is not so good, we'll fix it in post. You didn't have that 30 years ago. You had to do the best you could all the time.
Yeah, I miss rehearsals.
So yes, it makes it easier, but also it's like, let's shoot as much as we can and in post we'll figure what we like. As before it was like, let's fix it on set and let's do the best we can in every aspect.
Yeah.
So
do you think, and I didn't think about this question till we started talking about respect for the process, but do you think respect for script supervisors has changed? Because I really see it. I don't feel it in myself. I feel like people would respect you and respect me on set, but I see in general a change of respect for our position because people don't understand what we do. That's my impression anyway.
So you're saying more respect or less respect?
I think less.
Well, you know, people think I'm scary, so I don't have this problem. you know, because when I'm on set, I'm very, very, very involved.
Yeah. Oh, me too. Me too.
And I do things that are not solely just script supervising. Like I'll say, oh, how about we put a plant here, or this wall looks really empty, or, you know, whatever I think will make the shot better.
Yes.
Not every director will take it.
Yes.
And basically I don't take shit. If I actually, it was in Canada, I think, a movie I did in Canada. And the DP, you say DOP, we say the DP, he says to me on the first day, when I want your opinion, I'll give it to you.
Yeah. I get that sometimes from DOPs. Yeah.
That line?
Yes.
Okay, so from that moment on, it was not a good experience. And he also was really rude to his operator and to the, ACs. And I don't know, one day he said something really nasty to me. I took my script, I walked off the set, I said to the producer, he has to come apologize, otherwise I'm not coming back on set.
Oh, good.
Yeah. And no matter what they said, I wouldn't. It's like, okay, send me home. I don't give a shit. Nobody talks to me like that.
Good. Oh my God.
Yeah. So, but not everybody can do that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
You
true.
have to be a certain person. You don't want to get in trouble. I'm not saying do that every time. You have to know, you have to feel it out.
Luckily, this is one of the good things, though. Bullies have gone down. Like a lot of those bullies don't
Yeah,
work.
because of the woke culture.
This is from Elena. What's the part of the job that lights you up? And conversely, what is the part that challenges you the most?
A good performance, the magic. There's always moment of magic that you either laugh or the shot is incredibly beautiful, or like I said, a beautiful performance by an actor. Like you feel the magic. I call it the magic. And the second part of the question
Was what part challenges you the most?
Well, keeping, it's always the first take that if I have 6 actors, each one is doing something different, and I feel like, and I didn't have a real rehearsal, and like trying to keep up with all of it, because you never know what question they're going to say. What leg did I cross over what leg? Or, and trying to keep up with what they're doing. But if I don't get it, I'll say, sorry, I didn't get it. I mean, I'm looking at 6 people, I'm looking at the dialogue, I'm looking at this, I'm looking at that. So trying to get as much, that's very stressful.
Yes. Oh, it's interesting that it is even for me still very stressful when stuff like that happens. Prep has been disintegrating and eroding. They're taking away prep from so many of the new script supervisors, and it's everything for me. I don't know. I wanted to ask you how you feel about prep and what is the most important thing for you in prep?
Prep is to me the learning of the movie. It's like if I do prep, I really break it. I suggest you guys assign a time of the day for every scene prior to shooting the movie. I say it's like going with a toothbrush or a tooth combing it, every word on the script, because sometimes, when you read the script the first time and you read it the 5th time, it's a whole different thing. And as you are breaking down, I don't know, it's like diving into a deep ocean, and every time new things come up and you say, wait a minute, but this doesn't make sense and this doesn't make sense, story-wise. And if you can communicate that before the movie, a lot of times they will change, or, oh, thank God you caught that, or you caught that. Prep is very important. I think it's super important. I make a very extensive breakdown.
When Ronit talked about priorities, what would be her list of priorities?
Okay, so let's say the DP, you had like, I don't know, some kind of a plant in the background in the scene, but they change the angle of the camera and the DP feels it will be better to move it this way or that way. As a scripter, no, leave it. It's not important, because when you watch a movie, you're not tracking a plant. You're looking at the eyes. To me, the biggest priority is to look into the eyes of the actor and know if he's telling the truth or if he's bluffing. And what's important for the scene, will this cut or this? So you prioritize, you take what is the most important for editing. There are so many examples I can't think of, but that's what I said, don't be nitpicking, because really it's, and if you don't feel safe, then tell the director, listen, I don't know if it will cut well, maybe we can have a close-up here, it will help you, to cut around if there is I feel like there is going to be a problem with this actor because he's not matching anything he's doing. So you can't stress because he's not matching anything he's doing. You have to find your way. So priorities, where is the actor in the scene? When did he sit down? When did he get up? On what line of the dialogue? All the rest is stuff you can jump around and fix.
I totally agree. Totally.
Yeah. Wardrobe, again, you know, sometimes the wardrobe person, oh my God, I forgot to put the marriage ring on her, you know, the band, oh my God. I just say, forget it. Don't tell anybody. Nobody will know.
Yeah.
I'm not telling you to do it, but if the harm is done, you're not going to say, we're going to have to reshoot it.
Yeah.
Especially if you have a close-up. People do not see those things. Or if we had 2 buttons or 3 buttons, that's prioritizing. Where does your energy go to make a better movie?
Is there something in your career? You've done everything. You've done so much. You've worked in, you were listing off the many countries you've worked. Did you count how many countries you've worked in? Do you know the number?
No, I didn't. I forgot to mention Israel too.
Oh yeah, of course. Of course. It's probably at least I've worked in 10.
Maybe. Yeah, and then all the different states in the United States. I've been to so many places in the United States. You know, that's like another thing.
Yeah, I agree, because every region is different, every province, every state. That's one of the things I always loved about our job, is that it is an international position.
Oh my God, you never have to be a tourist and you see the best places.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. But is there, okay, so you've worked in many countries, you've worked with really good directors, some not so good directors, some mean people, some wonderful people, wonderful, wonderful movies. Is there anything you haven't done yet that you want to do?
No. Oh, yeah, I'd like to do a good, slow burning drama with really good actors.
Oh, yeah.
Again, you know, like Girl Interrupted.
Yeah.
Because I can't, you know, I got into the comedy and you know how you have this label on you. So, yeah, I'd like to do that.
Oh, that's really good. Yeah,
But
that's
it's okay if I don't, you know. I feel like, you know, I've come full circles. I think like I did okay. So.
If you had one piece of advice for someone just starting out in the business, because some people are older, some people are younger, but they're new to this job, what would you say to them?
You know, I wrote this down and I think this is a very important question. So I'm going to look at my notes. So the first thing I wrote is, when you are set, listen nonstop. Don't be stuck in your computer. Follow the director when they're talking about the shot. Follow the DP, follow the AD. So you don't have to ask so many questions afterward. You're always in tune, you know, in tune with what they're doing. And that's how you learn, because they say, oh, we're going to do this, and then we're going to do. Always listen. Don't sit in your chair. Always follow them and be quiet. You know, but you know what I mean. I mean, you know, I've come with this, David, they will say to me sometimes after the take or the show, Ronit, how was it? You're okay with it? I mean, that's huge for a script supervisor. Are you okay? And I'll say, no, I think we need to do this, or we need to do that, or, you know, that I'll say to the director, I think they can do better with acting. But that's not an advice I'm giving.
Yes.
But I'm saying you can get to this level with people that like you. Okay, yes. Focus. Don't be talking to other people. Don't be looking at your phone. Like when I'm on set, I'm 100% on set. I mean, I'm too much. But you know, that's just how I am. So keep in focus, listen, be aware of your surrounding. Respect people. If it's the PA or the director or whoever it is, always treat people with respect and kindness. It's very, very important. Don't be a bitch or don't be a nasty boy or whatever, because I know we have a lot of guys now doing the job. Even if you are stressed, keep it to yourself. Don't let it, you know, go out on set. People don't like that. Everybody is stressed. So if you can find a way, I use a lot of humor, you know, when I'm stressed, and I make a lot of fun of myself. And one thing working in the United States is everybody was making fun of my accent, and they still do. I mean, you know, there was on Girl Interrupted, they did a gag reel for the rap party where all the actors in the movie, you know, I always yell out the take numbers. So I always used to say, 2 is up, and everybody, they did a whole movie. thing, you know, where everybody's thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. And the crew, it was really fun.
Oh my
So, you know, but I said I will not read lines with actors because I make them laugh. And sometimes I'll pronounce it wrong. You know, don't pretend to like you know everything. When I don't understand something, I ask. It doesn't matter. I don't pretend to be smarter than I am. Think before you say something. This is a note to myself because when I watch a rehearsal, I already know what's wrong. And sometimes I talk too soon. No, wait, let them do the first take. Let the director give his notes. If it starts going, you know, second take, third take, say, always suggest, never say it has to be this way or that way. Always make a suggestion. That's what I said is, you know, it's a form of respect and it's a form of not being threatening to the director and to whoever. You have one of our most important, you know, most important part of our job is to facilitate the director and give him a surrounding that's comfortable. I mean, I know some of them are assholes and there is nothing you can do, or idiots, or don't know what they're doing. So then there's not much you can do, but usually it's make his surrounding comfortable for him. Don't be me, you know. Respect the process. Don't be a nitpicker. Take no for an answer. Take no for an answer. Don't be insulted. Don't think you know better. Movie is not like a recipe. There are 7,000 ways to get to it. And, you know, it's art. You can break rules in art. If you don't break rules in art, it's not art. It's like, I don't know what, you know, math. It's not math.
I love that. I love that.
And the last thing is be on time. Don't be late, ever, 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 ever. Don't be late. Don't give excuses. Don't be on time. This is my advice.
That's great. That is fantastic.
Oh, the other advice I wanted to give you guys, communicate. You know information. You know they talked in the, you know, the director and the DP about something props has to bring, and the AD will forget to say it. I will let the props know. Help people, help them. Let them watch your screen. Smile. That's it.
That's really good. I appreciate.
Yeah, and have a sense of humor.
Yeah.
Don't forget to be funny no matter what. It's only we're making movies. We're not curing people from cancer. That's what I say when it gets really bad.
That was beautiful interview.
Thank you.
So perfect. Thank you.
You're the first one that I said yes to over the years. I don't know why I always said no.
Really? Oh, I'm very honored then.
Okay. Take care.
Hey.
Good luck, guys. Remember to smile.